AITA for giving guardianship of my son to my aunt over my mother after I die of my terminal cancer. I, a 21-year-old man, have a 1-year-old kid whose mother, who used to be my girlfriend, died during childbirth, along with the second baby she was carrying. In March, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. It is expected to take me 2 months or less to die. I have accepted that my life is coming to an end, but now I must consider what is best for my kid. I had to decide who would care for my son, and my first thought was, of course, my mother 55, but then I considered her situation. My older brother 29 lives with her and his 5 children, all under the age of 5, and I decided not to because my mother works and my brother, to be honest, isn't really raising his children, but rather dragging them up and being neglectful. As a result, I was not going to place my kid in such setting because I wanted someone who would really care for him. So I thought of my aunt, 33, who is on my father's side of the family. They are both excellent mothers and fathers to their 3 daughters, and I have no doubt that they would be able to care for my kid. They consented to my request when I inquired. After learning that I was not leaving my kid with her, my mother became enraged, believing that she was losing not just me but also her grandchild as a result of my decision. I explained my reasoning, as well as the fact that she cannot realistically parent him when she is also raising a man-child and his children. All of this culminated in an even more heated quarrel, and now I'm relaxing at home. It's understandable that things are difficult for her right now since I won't be able to help her, but my aunt is a much superior option. After all, it's not like my kid won't recognize her, given the distance between her home and my aunt's is just 5 minutes. AITA. Update. I took my mother a few days to settle down before speaking to her again, and she ultimately warmed up to the idea. She understands that it is not in my son's best interest to be with her, and that he would be better off with my aunt. Because she is well aware that my brother is an unruly slob, she is giving him a nice kick in the shins to get his life in order. I've talked with an attorney who has assisted me with a variety of matters, including obtaining formal adoption for my kid from my aunt and her spouse. He will continue to live with me until I'm able to pass, as many of you mentioned. I recorded and uploaded videos of myself offering him advice on achieving certain milestones. For example, when he loses his first tooth, when he turns 10, 13, 16, 18, 21, when he has his first girlfriend or boyfriend if he prefers. I made a video in case he is in any way LGBT+, when he graduates from secondary school, when he goes to university, when he gets married, or when he has children. There are some things I've written down, such as how his mother went away and how he was expected to grow up with a twin sibling who, regrettably, passed away as a young child. Aside from that, I've had my lawyer assist me in setting up a small trust to leave him PS $40,000, which was left to him by my girlfriend's father when he passed away. She put the money in a joint bank account that I received when she passed, in case he needs financial assistance with university or decides to go traveling. All I have to do now is appreciate the time I have left with him. I've relocated my younger brother in my apartment so that someone would be there to greet me every day when I leave. When I'm gone, I can at least take comfort in the knowledge that the kid I adore is being cared for, and that I will see the girl I adore again, as well as our other angel, whom I never got to meet. Once again, thank you so much. Story 2. AITA for continuing to press charges against my nanny. Me, a 35-year-old woman, my husband, a 40-year-old man, our daughter Lola, a female, our nanny Mary, a 38-year-old woman, and her husband Joe, a 40-year-old man, are all characters in this novel. When I was pregnant with Lola, I had to be on bed rest for 14 weeks, and my husband hired Mary to essentially be me when I couldn't be there. She was an angel who immediately became a part of our family. She was with us when Lola was born, and I started to think of her as a sister best friend of mine, which she was. We've never had any problems with Mary. She's always been wonderful with Lola, and she's really lovely and caring. Lola has just recently begun to utter a few words, and as a result, Mary is one of the few persons in whom my husband and I have confidence to care for Lola whether we are out for the night or otherwise. Mary's resume included a slew of past childcare roles, as well as childcare certifications in education. Lola was chattering along a few months ago when she brought up the subject of Mommy Mary. I wasn't too worried since she has a little language and I understand how difficult it may be for toddlers to have many daycare providers at the same time. When the nanny phone began to vibrate repeatedly in the drawer, it was driving me insane. I took it out to turn it off and saw that the alerts were Instagram comments, one of which wrote, "Mary, you and your Lola are so adorable." I was a little perplexed because we have an agreement with Mary that she will not share Lola on her social media, and we also follow each other on Instagram, so I knew she wouldn't post her. So when I opened the comment, I was surprised to see a photo of Mary and Lola, taken from an account I was unfamiliar with. After reading through the profile, I discovered that Mary had a private Instagram account that she kept concealed from her friends and family, where she lied to outsiders that Mary was her daughter and that Mary was her daughter. I was totally appalled and creeped out by the whole thing. In the end, my husband and I went immediately to the attorneys and the police, where we filed a restraining order against her. My husband also wants to pursue official charges against her, though I'm not sure what they could charge her with. Her husband recently messaged me to explain that Mary has been suffering from infertility issues for some time and that a miscarriage about a year ago triggered her, which is when she started the profile. I know we are not in the wrong for this, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of the situation. He said that she never intended to hurt anybody and that she sincerely cares for Lola. I do not want to lift the restraining order, but doing so would very certainly result in her never working with children again. I'm conflicted because I don't want to be held accountable for losing her profession, especially because she is really fond of children. Is Reddit AITA responsible for the restraining order not being dropped? Story 3. AITA for taking a weird joke my stepmom made too seriously. I'm 14 years old and live with my father and stepmother. My mother died away when I was 5, and when my father and stepmother got together when I was 9, they convinced me to come live with my grandmother. My grandmother had a stroke 2 years ago and was forced to enter a nursing facility, so I moved in with my father and stepmother. Since my father and stepmother were married, I've been unable to spend time with simply my father. My stepmother has to accompany me. I always had the impression that she didn't really like me, so I couldn't figure out why she insisted on hanging out with me all the time. It made spending time with my father quite uncomfortable. The situation became worse when I returned to live with them, as she would walk into the room and ask, "What are we talking about?" and then simply engage in the discussion, even if it had nothing to do with her at the moment. If she had the option, she would stand or sit in between us as well. In the last few weeks, I brought it up with my father, who claims he has never observed it and doesn't believe it is true that she comes every time. He responded with something along the lines of, "It's her home too. She can hang out with us if she wants." I don't believe it was getting over to him, that it was the same every time, and it was making me feel uncomfortable. So the next time she did it, I said, "Hey, why do you constantly come in and join every discussion I have with my father and stand between us?" She said, "I don't know why you do it." "Oh, I'm just a little jealous person," she responded, laughing, when I questioned what she meant by that. "I feel envious when my husband spends time with other females," she said. I told her it was really strange and that I was not another female, but rather his daughter. Despite the fact that my father and stepmom maintain that it was a joke, the incident has left me feeling uncomfortable, and I can't help but take it seriously. When I requested her to cease interfering in our chats, she responded with, "Oh, so I need your permission to speak to my own husband in my own home," which was clearly not what I was implying at all, and she was right. My stepmom is now behaving very wounded and sad, and my father has asked me to express my regret for having caused her distress. He claims that I purposefully overreacted to her joke because I don't like her and was looking for any opportunity to be cruel to her and eliminate her from my life. But even if she didn't intend it that way, I think it was a strange joke to make, and I believe I have the right to be bothered by it. I also believe I have the right to want some time alone with my father, and that this does not imply that I am attempting to exclude her in any way.